Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this special People's Health Alliance mental health Zoom. We've got three special guests, in fact. We've got Helen Gibson, we've got Vickie Embley, and we've got Mick Stott. Darren makes his apologies, but he couldn't make tonight. Basically, we're going to be learning about what our guests are doing to help people with their mental health. There will be an opportunity for everyone to ask questions afterwards. But firstly, we're going to go to each guest, ask them to give us a bit of information about themselves and tell us how they're helping people with their mental health. So let's crack on. Helen, my lovely Helen, would you like to begin?
Okay. Hello, good evening to everyone that's here and whoever's watching on catch up. I'm Helen Gibson. I am the creator of Authentic Discovery is my actual business, although sometimes I forget that I have that. And I also co-coordinate Anamkara, which is a online open drop-in for people that are struggling. We have calls Monday to Friday, at least one a day. That you can find out information on that. You can find out any information about what I'm talking about on my website, which is authenticdiscovery.co.uk. And I also created FAB, which is the first Assist Being Well training program. That program was actually written specifically for the PHA hubs it's a 16-hour course. It's aimed at people that have never worked within the psychological or mental health arena. It is kind of a first. It's not only first assist, it's possibly a first step as well. Anyone that's ever done a mental health awareness course, there are obviously similarities. But the course does encourage self-awareness and to become aware of your own bias in certain areas. So there's 4 modules. The first module is about kind of introducing the course and getting you to think about yourself, your own life experiences, what's going, how the world is, it may or may not have impacted upon you, and the various it kind of tries to draw out and give you confidence to question what we've been taught, why we were taught it, etc. And then the next 3 modules look at some of the more, I'm not going to say common, but the more well-known mental health issues: suicide, psychosis, schizophrenia, eating disorders. And then we look at all the way through, you're guided to, you're given tools to support someone. Personally, I think that we all have the skill set. I do actually believe that we have the skill set already, and it's about empowering you and giving you confidence to use that skill set. So for me, the original therapy session used to happen around your mum's kitchen table. All the neighbours would get together, and that's the original group therapy session, where you got round and you talked and you supported each other. And now that the way that we've been kind of I don't want to. I'm trying ever so hard not to use words that I want to use, like coerced, manipulated, indoctrinated. The way those words that have those kind of ideas, that we're not able anymore to support people. We're not able to sit with someone. As one of the things when I'm looking for benefactors within Anamkara is. And we call ourselves benefactors because the word actually means to do well, which is what we want to do. We want to do well by the people that we're supporting, by the planet, and by ourselves. And one of the things that people really kind of go, I don't think I could support somebody who was expressing suicidal ideation. And we forget that we can, because as long as you've got a heart, an ear, and some time, and they really are the most powerful things that you can offer another human being. Obviously, having knowledge and skills is important, but really it is your intention, your heart, and your willingness to sit with somebody that is such a powerful and effective mental health tool. In all fairness, it really is. So that's what First Assist Being Well is all about. I've probably gone really fast through it and skimmed it, and I did have a little presentation thing, but my tummy got jittery and I forgot until now. So to be fair, so as I say, the course can be delivered over 4 separate modules. So the way that I currently deliver is online. I live in Era, so the corporation known as Ireland, if anybody didn't know that. And I deliver online. I do a course every month that anyone can drop into. I can also do it in person, but that, you know, there's different costs involved in person. And it's delivered over 4 mornings or 4 afternoons a week. And each module is 4 hours, so it can be delivered online, it can be delivered in person, and usually that would be done over 2 days, so that's 2 full days, but it's a very different energy around delivering in person. Another thing that's kind of unique about First Assist, I've been on lots of mental health courses throughout my time, is the bringing in the spiritual element. It's been something that we've been everything's been so segmented within our lives that we no longer see, you know, it's the mind, the body, the soul, and they're all very separate. But when one is out of balance or out of harmony, then they all are affected by that. And it's to bring in that element. And I know that one of I think it was one of the trainers, because there are people trained to deliver this as well around the UK. One of the things that they identified when they worked within psychiatric hospital, and a shaman came, I think it was from South America, and as he walked in, he kind of literally opened the door and says, why hasn't anybody released these spirits? And that's something that we no longer look at anymore. And I'm not saying that everybody with a mental health issue is actually having a spiritual experience, but it's something that we need to consider. Ancient way of being really acknowledge this. And again, the first part is looking at our own cultures and where we're from. And within some cultures, those that commune with spirit and those that are the spiritual leaders of their communities are actually revered. They're not put into mental health institutions. So there's aspects of the course that you won't find in another mainstream mental health course, but it is about the very first step in kind of supporting somebody. We're not there to diagnose, we're not there to prescribe. We are merely there to Fab is there to empower people, give them confidence to be able to sit with someone and say, I might not be able to help you, but I know someone that can. Or, oh yes, I do know actually that, you know, what you're expressing to me, could you try this? There's a big emphasis on building a resource list, and because that's going to become the Bible for those that are actually sitting with someone. And it might not be that somebody needs a mental health professional. They might just need to go and join a book club. It could be social isolation that is causing their distress. So I hope I've given you enough information. I don't know if I have, but please do ask questions when it comes around to questions, and draw it out of me, because it's there to be drawn. And I hope that's enough for now.
Beautiful, absolutely perfect. That is really good. You do them every month, Helen, is that right? You run them every month?
Yeah, you'll find the information on my website. The dates for 2024 are due to go on. There's one in November, coming up near the end of November. There's a course there, but so it is every month. But you can actually, if you've got a group of a minimum of 6 people, a maximum of 16, because this is something I did want to say actually. This is not a therapeutic intervention as well. We've had people that have come onto the course to actually start a therapeutic process. Now, I'm not saying that it can't be a catalyst for that, but it's not a therapeutic course. When it's not group, it isn't group therapy, but it is a course where you are encouraged to engage, you are encouraged to explore, and if someone does experience something, it offers us an opportunity to actually put the tools, the acronym we have an acronym, Larry, to actually show how that works, and then once people have completed the course, they can then decide if they would like to go on to deliver the course and to engage in training. We also have a practical group on Telegram where people can, because people don't like it when you say role play. Everybody gets a bit digi and they get a bit scared, but it's really handy. We actually host triads, so you can just drop into the group. Is anybody free? And you can just practice to actually support people. There's an observer, there's someone that will role play a client, and there's somebody that will offer the support. And it's a way of honing skills, of building confidence again in actually talking to people, or not. That don't underestimate the power of silence in any situation. But yeah, they are but if you want them, you know, as I say, group of 6 or maximum of 16, you can get in touch. And if there's a trainer near you, most of the trainers like to deliver in person. They're not fans of online. I'm open to traveling anywhere in the world, by the way, anywhere. I will travel anywhere in the world to deliver this course because I really believe in it. It's delivered at a reduced rate for anyone attached to the People's Health Alliance. It really is for nothing. It's £40 for this course. If you're not attached to the PHA, it's £200, but £40 for this type of course it really is for nothing. And if you can't afford that, do get in touch, because as long as the work is being done, I'm quite happy about that.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Right, Vickie and Mick, who run Spectrum, if you'd like to introduce yourselves, please, and after you. Thank you.
Hello, good evening and welcome. I've always wanted to say that.
It's good night from me.
So my name's Vickie Embley. Yeah, we're going to talk about Spectrum Transition Coaching, but I just wanted to say how I came across it. So in 2017, I went through Kundalini Spiritual Awakening. I suppose, hit a precipice myself. A lot of trauma that had come to the fore that I denied. And it was a little synchronicity really that brought me to Spectrum, and I can't believe I nearly dismissed it. And in my mind, I was dismissing it, and I thought, you know what, things come to you and don't dismiss it without knowledge, you know, go and explore it and see what it is. And I remember my first experience of it and thinking, wow, this is really profound. It's really changed something very deep. And I always had a passion to help people, I suppose because I know what it's like to live with, you know, low self-esteem, to live with anxiety and fears. My sister had attempted suicide at 21, had taken 70 paracetamol and been on 35 years of medication, and now she's experienced Spectrum. She's been just over a year off of medication. So it's pretty profound stuff. I'm a mum of 2. I have 2 daughters, Freya, who's 17, and Imogen, who's nearly 16, who I absolutely adore and have been very grateful to be able to help them. Went through a very toxic divorce back in 2019, and one of my daughters started down the self-harming route. She had started Spectrum when she was 11, and so she knew it would help her. And she called and said, I'm really angry, Mummy, can you help? And it stopped the self-harming in its tracks. I've never seen anything as powerful as Spectrum. So, you know, I'll let Mick introduce himself. Mick, who's the creator of it, who, after I trained in it, came to train me in the advanced Spectrum, and we had a strong connection. And the rest is history, really. And now we want to get Spectrum rolling. So I'll leave all of the information about what Spectrum is to the creator of it, because I think he's best placed.
My name is Mick, and I come from I'm a veteran, essentially. I served for 30 years in the British Army. My main job was the mental and physical preparation for soldiers that came into the army. And so what I realized very early on is that people started to struggle mentally. And of course, that's why people come to us now. People come and find us with Spectrum because they're at a crossroads. They've been diagnosed with a trauma or a mental health condition, or they're struggling to get past something, some sort of emotional block. And of course, that's why they come to us. Spectrum was created in the training rooms that I spent all of my military life with in, and having resigned my commission, then went into international sport as a mindset coach, and also international business. So what I found was that people struggle emotionally when they want to go from one space to another, or take the next step in their lives. That might be another relationship, it might be in elite performance, then they start to struggle. So I created a system on the back of everything that I learned throughout the military and learned when I left the military, called Spectrum. And it was designed to create change. It was designed to help someone resolve things that had held them back, that came back from their past, which were traumas, essentially. I introduced Spectrum on a loose level to the British Army when we were doing some of the performance stuff. I then realized I wasn't really in the right place to talk about love, and to talk about kindness, and to talk about how we transition and support people that are struggling using an emotional tool. And so I resigned my commission, and then we got into the how of Spectrum, because Spectrum was really about the how. I found there's an awful lot of information out there, but there wasn't many things that were totally dedicated to help someone change their relationship with a trauma. And so that involved someone basically having a one-to-one. All of the quality work within Spectrum is done in a one-to-one space that is very private, even though the programs we run involve groups. There's no need to share. And Spectrum is pretty unique because there's also no need to delve into content. It differs very much from trauma-focused approaches, in so much that you don't have to share the detail of your trauma, which is a breath of fresh air for a lot of the men. Women tend to be a little bit braver in that space because they're used to sharing experience. I know these are generalizations, but they do hold a little bit of water. So the how of Spectrum is literally, a one-to-one session and sometimes group education to move people to the next level by getting rid of their trauma. So it's designed specifically as a change model. And the benefits of people when they do experience this is that it does get rid of the blocks that stop them from going into the future. It allows them to stop reacting to some of the things that they used to react to that held them back. More importantly, it allows people to see their future more clearly, and it avoids any waste of energy. We waste a lot of energy on emotion, and Spectrum literally deals with the emotions that we gather, like anger, sadness, fear, guilt, hurt, and anxiety, so that we can go into the future. So that essentially is what it is. What do? We run a number of change programs, which are 3.5-day programs dedicated to someone who wants to receive individual personal change. What we also do is we train people to be coaches. So there might be a selection of people that want to understand what transition coaching is about. And for anyone that's done coaching, never compare Spectrum to life coaching or performance coaching, because they're fields apart.
That's one of the videos that we've done that explains what makes Spectrum different to anything else in the coaching arena or the therapeutic arena.
And of course, you can see those on our website. I'm sure that Jane will post the details of our website in the chat so that people can visit that. But the bottom line is, we spent a lot of time gathering research, and Spectrum is supported by research. And that research came from the most complex demographics. These were combat veterans, and these were women in women's refuges, high security prisons. And a lot of these people presented things like alcohol dependency, drug dependency. So Spectrum was tested in I would say, one of the most complicated arenas, and it's supported by an awful lot of research. So when we train our coaches can come in at different levels. We've just created a program called that happens to Accelerator Coach, which is designed for someone that doesn't have a clue about transition coaching and wants to maybe use this to help their own kids. Then it's as cheap as chips. It's a nice gateway for somebody to come in and learn it without having a massive commitment to it. And it allows the person that connects with us to understand what it's all about, to see whether or not they want to continue with it, or whether they want to just keep it at that level. We then move on to Spectrum Transition Coach Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3. And of course, that would suggest that there's a level of complexity that goes with the training. And also, it would also suggest that when somebody has more experience, they're then capable of dealing with more significant presenting issues. And so this is where the levels come in. Equally, if somebody wants to train it, then they embark on a journey of becoming a coach, running through all of those levels, and then becoming a trainer to train it. And we certainly do that. I've already trained a number of trainers in Spectrum and a number of coaches. What we're looking to do now is expand that community. And so equally, when someone engages with Spectrum, you can become a member of a community that you can seek guidance from, and mentorship, and also continued personal development. You got anything else to throw in there?
Yeah, I just think it's important. I know you touched on it. I think it's really important to say that we're not in the world of imagining change.
No.
We're in the world of measuring change, because that's the only way that we know that someone has changed. And of course, we can all be triggered by different things. I don't know how many of you have heard of Dr. Bruce Lipton and his biology of beliefs, and how our negative emotions impact on our body. And he talks a lot of the what. I'd be very bold to say that we have the how to what Bruce Lipton talks about. It gets deep into the unconscious, and not through anything that we do. It's a journey that everybody takes individually. We don't have anybody's answers. People have their own answers, and it's about getting in touch with your own unconscious that has all of those answers for you. So Spectrum really dives into the glue. It gets into the limiting beliefs.
Yep.
It gets into the negative emotions. It gets into the internal conflicts. Part of me wants this, part of me wants this. Part of me believes this, part of me believes that. And it gets into the barriers. So quite often, if someone's had a number of relationships where they feel they've been let down, they might run things like rejection. And the very fear of rejection, they might not even realize it. They might create a barrier around it, an unconscious barrier, trying to create a relationship from behind fear. And, you know, it's only when that can go that we can really, truly embrace relationships without those previous emotions. And so Spectrum, you know, in terms of measurement, it gets rid of triggers, it dilutes triggers, it changes our self-talk, and fundamentally, it changes what we do. Because our behavior is simply our beliefs, our values, and our emotions in action. And when those beliefs, values, and emotions change, so does what we do. So, yeah.
Of course, the research that supports it, what we prove through behavioural change, is that if you follow somebody for 5 years and they're still doing behaviours that are not connected to the problem, you know that they've changed. And so we've done that within our research. We followed people for longer than 5 years. We have lots and lots of examples. I personally have sat with thousands of people individually on a one-to-one and trained an awful lot of people to do what we do. But now we're getting into the next league, and this is the first step in that.
It would be nice to say, for, you know, those that are spiritual, that Spectrum is actually steeped in spirit.
Yeah.
It was created in Merlin's cave in Tintagel. I don't know if anyone knows anything about Merlin's cave, but Merlin is also another name for Saint-Germain. And Saint-Germain wanted to do the work of Jesus. He wanted to heal. And so Spectrum is actually very, very steeped in spirituality, and it deals with the spirit. But of course, not everyone is spiritual, that they're unconsciously spiritual. We're all unconsciously spiritual, but people may not be aware of that side of themselves. And so we wouldn't necessarily talk about spirit or spirituality in front of a group of people that goes against their belief system. But if we were working with a group of people that were spiritual, we would discuss that. And it can deal with, you know, not just this life's trauma. For those that have a belief system of past lives, it can also deal with the trauma from those lives as well. You know, past life regression is great. You know, lots of people have done that. But of course, if you go into a past life regression and touch on trauma and have no mechanism for changing whatever you're touching, and even in this life, you know, you can go into a counselling session and the counsellor not have a way of measuring someone's emotional loading. They've got no idea what can of worms they're going to open, and therefore how unresourceful they might leave someone at the end of that counselling session because they're bringing all of the trauma to the fore. So spectrum is all encompassing, really.
And we're not giving counselling a hard time.
No, not at all.
You know, ultimately, if you look at the retention rates of counselling and psychodynamic approaches, they're not great. That's not Mick Stott saying that. That's the evidence. That's the research saying that. So we looked at retention and why people would drop out. Spectrum was designed to be fit for purpose, and it's definitely that.
Counselling is great for those that are emotionally light enough. You know, I know before I kind of had my breakdown, I went to counselling, and it certainly gave me some understanding, which really helped, you know. So there's no decrying any of the things, or very much support everything out there that helps people and supports people. But of course, if someone is more emotionally loaded and has a diagnosis of something like complex PTSD, or they're working with addictions or eating disorders, it's more difficult to get to the glue of the problem, and Spectrum does that very elegantly and very safely.
Yeah, it does, comprehensively.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Fantastic, brilliant. So your availability is, are you running courses every month, or is it every couple of months or so, or? So
I'll be running a Happiness Accelerator program once a month at the level of a 4-hour connection. But what people can do is they can join us online, pay for the Happiness Accelerator coach at £49, and they can just literally learn it in their own space, and then consolidate the training with me on a 4-hour Zoom.
And if they want personal change, yes, we run them every month.
We run change programs. So if somebody with something that they really want to resolve that's complex, or a diagnosis, we run change programs every month.
And equally, if someone's simply wanting to perform better in an arena, you know, it equally works all the way. If it can work for the most complex, because we're all emotional, we're all made up of emotions and beliefs and barriers. So if it can work with the most complex, it can work with the most simple, and we see that time and time again.
It sounds fascinating. I'm really, I want to sign up and do it, actually. So I should be coming along at some point to do that. But no, thank you so much. It's this is what it's all about. It's kind of, we've all got mental health, but there should be every kind of option, every kind of choice, every kind of education to help you with your mental health, not just kind of one kind of narrow-minded view of it, and this is how you cope with it. There's all these options should be available to people, and they should be able to choose what suits them. So thank you very much, both of you, appreciated. Has anyone got any questions? Anyone like to put any questions at all? I'm trying to look at the chat. Anyone got anything to add? Hang on.
Online or in person?
Other one, can you see that, Mick?
Yeah.
So are one-to-ones online or in person? Same with training?
Yeah, both really. So you have the Happiness Accelerator, which is a training that's literally something you do in your own space, and then we consolidate it with an online training. The other coach trainings are all face-to-face.
I think she's talking about personal change there, darling.
The one-to-ones, we always recommend that your first one-to-one, your initial consultation, is done face-to-face, because then we know how loaded you are and how well you deal going inside and changing your stuff, because it is about change. But once we've done that initial consultation, then we can do whatever we want to do on FaceTime or WhatsApp or any mechanism like Zoom. So there's no problem with that.
I would say if just tell me if I'm wrong here, Mick, if someone's lighter, you know, it's easier to do that online if it's challenging to get here. But if the person who's wanting assistance has a diagnosis of complex PTSD, psychosis, you know, they've got alcohol problems, then definitely it's the initial stages to get them emotionally lighter. We would say definitely one-to-one. We would always recommend a change program, simply because it gives you an immersion and you get to do a consolidated amount of change, because we accumulate in layers. And so, you know, we work with themes of life. So for example, we work with words, and which is why it doesn't require content, we listen for hot words. So if someone's talking to us about the fact that they were bullied and then mother abandoned them, we now know that bullying, mother, abandonment, school probably are themes. We don't need to go into any other detail of areas of life to do that. So it's a fairly simple process. And of course, once someone's light enough and they would like to do more change, then we can do that over the internet. But certainly if there's complex needs, we would never do that over the internet. You know, we would want to be in person. I hope that's answered the question.
Kim Rose, I can see that. Yeah, okay. Anyone else have any questions for us at all? Anyone want to add anything to we asked? It's fascinating. It's some great approaches here, I think. Something that we'd really like to see in the hubs as well, because people are being trained, they can go out and help other people, and then they can help other people, because as we know, NHS isn't not going to write it down, it's great, but it's not always so helpful with the mental health support. I can personally say that. So but yeah, this is great. So oh, hang on, where are you based? So
we're Brackley in Northamptonshire.
Okay.
So junction 10 off the M40, junction 15A off the M1. If you're coming south on the M40, it would be junction 11. If you're coming north, it would be junction 10. But we're also happy to travel. So if someone wants to run a change program and say, look, I've got a number of us in my area that would like a change program, as long as that they can find the space. So if there's 6 people or 4 people, we just need a room for education and 2 private spaces to run the one-to-one, because the programs are a combination of education and change.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I was pretty dark, maybe a massive question, but I'm assuming you've trained up quite a few people now. You've kind of
It's worth bearing in mind that we've trained up a number of people, but I went off to Asia for about 5 years, working with international sport and business in Asia. And of course, so when I came back, a lot of those people, what they did was they've used Spectrum in their own fields. So, you know, we've got the police. I'll give you, an example. The police, customs. We have teachers. We've had psychotherapists, counsellors, GPs. We've had
physiotherapists,
physios. Yeah. So they've got their own areas of expertise anyway. But now what we've done, where we're different now, is we've decided that we want to create a group of coaches that are dedicated to transition coaching in an arena where we are helping people get rid of trauma. That's the difference now. So we focused our energy on that because of COVID and the impact that it's had, generally speaking.
And actually, the Happiness Accelerator coach, we created specifically as a result of COVID. A lot of those skills were originally as part of the level 1. And actually all of the coaching we've reduced by over half price, simply because we recognise we want to get it out there and we want it to be as accessible to many people. I can tell you, I hate the part that comes, genuinely, I really hate the part that comes to charging people, because Mick and I firmly believe that, mental freedom is a gift really for everybody. And if we were all happier, we wouldn't have the troubles we have in the world, but it's sadly our business. I do hope that one day that funding will come in from somewhere that allows us to offer it to people. We would never turn anyone down that didn't have any money.
No.
When Mick first came back from Thailand in 2019, he traveled the length and breadth of the country. He traveled and spent 3 days with someone in Cornwall who didn't have a penny to give to get him off the suicide list. So we would never allow financial affordability to get in the way of someone's healing. We've just taken a lady on a program today. She can't afford to pay it, but what she has asked is, can she pay in installments? And absolutely she can. We would never inhibit someone's growth. We very much love people. It's a passion. These programs, they take a lot of energy because we work with the most complex cases. So we wouldn't do that if we didn't love people.
And it's fair to say we're also investigating a strategy with a bank that might end up in us receiving, depending on the size of community we can create, enough income to support some projects. So that's an aspiration. It's not definite yet, but those are the kinds of things that we're exploring. We'll soon get traction. Cream always rises to the surface, Kate.
So sorry, I didn't finish about Happiness Accelerator. No, it was my fault. I was realising I went off on a tangent, as I generally do. But a lot of that was in the level 1 training. And what we wanted to do was empower as many people as quickly as we can by providing them access to something for a price that is affordable to most, that can be done at home, that can allow them to dip their toe in with some amazing skills within there that Mick spent thousands of pounds learning, actually, to offer out to people for something that's very, very affordable. And even if they decide they don't want to go on, I guarantee the skills that are in there, you know, every parent, every teacher, anyone who's got an interest in people could start applying those skills and start moving them from one mindset through the power of some of that stuff that's in there.
Well, and it's worth remembering that the stuff that people will get introduced to is the stuff that wasn't affordable. You know, that an awful lot of managing directors would receive because they had the money to receive it. Except if you look at the ICF models and the ILM models and some of the other coaching models that are out there, and I'm very au fait and familiar with those because they introduced performance coaching to the British Army. There are some models within Spectrum that you wouldn't find in any of those performance coaching models. You know, the 5 questions being a fantastic little series of questions that will blow out pretty much any emotional block that's getting in your way. And that's what becomes exciting about it, because what you start to realize is Spectrum is superb at finding out what you believe about yourself that limits you, and the emotions that you've gathered, and deconstructing those and getting rid of them to get the nonsense out of your mind so you can go in a direction that you want to go. And that's where we're different. We deconstruct things as opposed to try to add on to things. Does that make sense? And try to convince you that you're okay or you've changed. We don't do that. You convince yourself through your own journey. And this is one of the reasons that we never create dependencies, because you're in the driving seat from the word go. You're the one that's taking ownership of your world from the word go, and you're the one then that's responsible for your change.
I think that's one of the things that in terms of FAB as well, not so much it's along those lines, but it's about in normalizing life back as well, rather than, because we have, you know, we're constantly boxed and labelled and told we've got all of these things, and then we start to identify as if we've got those things, where really some things are just part of life's ups and downs, and to kind of reclaim our own power within ourselves, that we don't, I'm not saying, obviously there are people that have seriously complex issues and things, but a lot that's going on today has been given to us. It's been put upon us, so it's about normalizing our lives again from the weaponization of them for the corporations, for pharmaceuticals, for whatever purpose, to keep us dumbed down. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, with FAB, it is that first kind of, you know, just question your stuff and then move on, and you can, once you begin to question that, you sort of become empowered to go, okay, no, this is a little bit more, this isn't just life's ups and downs, and I do need to go on and work with Spectrum, or I do need to go on and get this type of support and that. But I think FAB is that very, very foundational thing, like, are you sick, or have you been told that you're sick? Are you ill, or have you been told that you're ill? Are you, and you know, and I think we were talking just before about the DSM, and you know, a lot of our lives have become medical issues and psychiatric issues and things like that. And it's not negating that these things exist, but it's about empowering people to reclaim it so that they can identify, actually, no, I'm not right, and I need to go and effect change in my life and get the right support for that change.
And that's a very good point, Helen. You know, we've talked about this, haven't we? Is that, you know, what you've created is a great signposting.
Yeah.
You know, there's too many people for one system. It's, you know, there's got to be a whole support mechanism out there.
Absolutely.
What you've created is, you know, is just that. We love to say that, you know, the mind is very powerful. If you can create it, you can uncreate it. And We believe that everything that anyone has created in their life can be uncreated. You know, we just finished a program yesterday. There was a lady that came. She was a bit of an older lady, bless her heart, significant trauma in her world. She came into our home and she was very unbalanced. She needed support, even just to make her way to the kitchen. Day 2, she walked around the block unaided. Now, this is the power of mental healing and the mind-body connection. And of course, you know, it's not just about what we do with resolving our emotions. There's a whole bigger thing, and I don't profess to be knowledgeable in this area, but we are what we put in our body emotionally, medicinally, physically, and nutritionally. And when we have all of that balanced, then we can step into our true spirit, if you like. I was just noticing there was a comment by a lady, Julie. I'm sure Spectrum will develop. Mick, I just had a thought that came through my mind when we said, you know, about not working with people over the internet. And it was just a thought. I don't know what your opinion is of this, but if there is someone that needs help that is geographically inhibited, what do you think if they had had somebody there with them?
We've already done that. The thing is, it's only a preference. So the preference is that wherever possible, you would do face-to-face. I totally get the concept of distance healing, distance connection, because when you become aware of energy, frequency, and vibration, you know, you'll know that that's no object. But if you speak to the average person out there that's traumatized, or you speak to, you know, the masses out there, they might not get that yet. So I would always pace the people with whom I'm connecting. If I, you know, so somebody like Julie, for instance, it would be lovely, you know, and possible to work without any contemplation at all via distance. But some people might not get that. Certainly in the arenas that I've worked in, and I've worked with thousands of guys, the military arenas, some of the business arenas that I've been in, they don't even understand the word love. They wouldn't even use the word love. So it's a pace and a lead, really, Julie. We have absolutely no doubt about distance healing or no doubt about distance training. I personally think it's dependent on the learner. Does that make sense? What they want to engage with? Yeah.
I think one of the things is that in person, I think you can't beat in person, in all fairness. Especially when you want to work therapeutically with somebody, or whether they want to engage in that, because as a therapist that works in that way, the whole body needs to be seen. There's such a different engagement when you can see the whole body and you can feel their energy and how they move, how they walk, and as you were on about that woman walking around. But online is effective. It's not that it's not effective, but I think in person will always trump an online engagement. And definitely meeting people in person first is just really fabulous. I live in the middle of nowhere, so it doesn't happen often, in a different country too. So but learning how to kind of facilitating online, the potential is just it's just, that's what's fabulous about online, is the reach, the potential.
Absolutely.
And you can just work with so many more people and geographically it makes no difference as well. But I haven't met anybody yet that has said that they prefer online as a practitioner delivering. You know, it's good, it's fabulous, it's effective, but in person there's just something. Well, I'm just magical both online and in person, so of course.
And the thing is, Helen, touch is also motivational.
Absolutely.
Touch is motivational. So if I take a group of athletes and we stretch, you know, contact stretching is possibly one of the most motivational things you can do with a team of athletes, because it's almost like they're investing in each other. Does that make sense? So we get the distance stuff, and equally sometimes that's the way it's got to be. But like we said, the gold standard is always going to be face to face, right?
Can I just say, because you know, I think it's
Julie's got her hand up.
Interesting, because she doesn't normally.
No, because I think it's a really important thing to understand from where Spectrum was born, and that's one of the videos that we've done. You know, when Mick introduced performance coaching and he left his the army, he went off and explored many modalities. He became a master trainer in NLP. He became a master trainer of hypnotherapy. He did EFT, he did TFT, he did timeline therapy, he did EMDR, he did loads and loads of different things. He sat with clinical psychologists and psychiatrists to understand how they came to their conclusion of diagnosis. He explored counselling, he explored CBT, so that he could come from a place of knowledge and experience to say what would work for where. You know, even with me now, you know, the tapping is a great self-help tool when you've got nothing else, you know, out there. You can use that for yourself. But what, you know, the conclusion that Mick came to was that there was no comprehensive model at the level of a paradigm of change that really gets into that psyche in whole areas of our life. For emotion. And, you know, we talk about all these diagnoses. At the heart of everything, at the heart of addictions, it's driven by emotion. At the heart of OCD, at the heart of eating disorders, it's all emotion. And, you know, complex PTSD, it's emotion. What happened to me is I was just a vessel that became too full with emotion. I couldn't contain it anymore. You know, so no one wants to diminish those diagnoses at all, because emotion is very powerful.
And of course, we've got Helen's system as well. That's a great gateway, because what we've also found, Helen, and you probably might have found this as well, is that some people just need that initial connection with others to gain enough confidence to take another step, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. It is that, I think I said that initially my business was called Crossing the Threshold, because taking that step is just so important, and it takes such a, you know, to acknowledge how far someone has come to actually step up and go, I need some support. And then to connect with somebody. And that's one of the things with Fab, is so that when people do kind of go into a hub, for example, and say, I need something, that there's someone there that goes, okay, I can sit with you, and I can support, I can just sit with you and hear, and then have knowledge of Spectrum, have knowledge of whether it is the book club, or have knowledge of you know, their resource list, so that they can then say, you might wish to try this, you might wish. And it's about suggestion, it's about support. It's not telling somebody this is going to work for you, you have to do this, and you have, because it's about personal empowerment. But that begins when they first make that connection with another person, and to acknowledge how far they've come to do that.
Julie, did you want to say something? Do you want to add something?
Yeah, I was really bothered with the discussion that we were having. It felt as though people might think they can't access you, Spectrum particularly, online only. And I know you do travel the world, but I know that you can do it online. I love working with people physically. I'm a complementary therapist and tutor and all that lot. And I know I've even help people. There was one lady I had, because I do shiatsu, and when I'd done a session with her, she said, oh, that was quite intimate. I'm like, it really wasn't. And she'd been trying to be pregnant for 2 years, and then the next time I met her, literally about a month or so later, she was pregnant. So she obviously had got issues with physical contact. So I know that is very true. And I've also, when I was a teacher in mainstream schools, I had a Romanian orphan who'd literally been strapped to a potty in his cot, not touched by people. So I know that physical contact is so important, and I really appreciate it myself as well. And I love collecting hugs. But also, when I was first a Reiki master, I couldn't understand how people could possibly be trained as Reiki practitioners through the internet. And now I've got a significant client who she's only trained through the internet, not even through me. And she is such an incredible person. So please don't limit yourselves, because you can get it out throughout the world. And thank you. It's lovely.
Yeah, I love that about the touch, because you know, the body holds the score, and physical touch can help start to move that, and as again, you know, from on a resource level, it might just be that somebody needs to go and receive a massage and have somebody manipulate their body to start them to the body to start to release, so that then they're able to go on and
Helen, I could do one of those.
You're not the only one. I love.
We'll do an exchange of energy, Helen.
Yeah. She's frozen.
She's frozen.
She's frozen.
That froze her, that.
She
Right.
She has frozen.
Anybody
She'll
got
unfreeze in a
any-
moment. You watch. She'll unfreeze. There
I
you go.
can't say I don't.
I think it's
There's
also
nothing
very
like it. Absolutely. I got to be honest. I like it.
Gone again.
I prefer a physical in-person massage to a distance one. I got to be honest. Get your.
Well, I think it's important to say with Spectrum, we never touch a client, not without permission.
No, it's one of those.
Because if someone's got issues around intimacy and being touched, you've got no idea what that might trigger.
You'll find that out anyway.
Yeah.
During the initial consultation, you'll pretty much find that out. So yeah, absolutely. It's a great thing, Julie, isn't it? It's a great thing that we share our experience, which expands everyone's potential. Does that make sense? So we totally agree that you definitely can do an awful lot of stuff by distance.
I just want to share some things about you, because Mick is quite. It's like we've lived these opposite lives. I've lived in this bubble, like so contained, so scared, no adventure in my world, and he's had this complete opposite to my journey. It's just been filled with so much adventure, and he's like this paradox, this veteran of 30 years. He's created Spectrum. He's also done Reiki. He's done crystal healing. Can I share your other beautiful gift?
Yeah, of course you can.
And he's a psychic. So,
nice.
when we work with people, I haven't got that gift. We work with a lady.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I'm gonna challenge that. We all have psychic abilities, and like any muscle, we have to. If you work it, you will.
Yeah,
I agree with that. This week we had a GP with us, an awake GP, who I connected to about 3 years ago, and her family was divided. Her husband was a surgeon, and he thought she was mad and alienated her from her family. Took the jabs and died. He died earlier this year. And she was in such internal conflict because up until COVID, their whole marriage had been so happy. They were so much in love. And then she just didn't understand what had happened. Well, Rob came through, Mick, and he told her, and he spoke to her, and he gave her closure. It gave her closure. This isn't stuff that we would share with average people, by the way, but that gift of him showing her some things that only she would have known was connected to him, and could talk to her about why he couldn't talk to her. It just gave her the resolution that, aside from all the change that she got, it was really the icing on the cake for her. So Mick, he's been in this freedom movement. He created Guardians 300 as well back in 2020. Trained many people in the art of being sovereign. So he's been he's a real paradox, and I speak of him because Mick is very humble, and he would never share this with people. So I share it because I just think it's amazing.
I need a Vickie in my life.
Helen, you just need what you didn't hear from me when I saw you with that beautiful scarf around your head and the vibrancy and the light that you shine. You're just missing your crystal ball.
Oh,
I do have crystals, and I do cards and things like that. But I think that's one of the things that I personally, in terms of what the last 3 years has really highlighted, and that's one of the things that is brought into Fab, is the amount of people that are willing to now step up and go, I have a spiritual side to me. I have a side that connects with what is not seen. And that does not make me, because we have the, I mentioned this when I deliver Fab, when we were all taught to pray to God, but should God answer us, we're mad. Do you know what I mean? And just to normalize all aspects of self and to embrace all aspects of self, and then just work on, just utilize all the gifts that you've got to share with others. It's just, It's just, and that's one of the things that's causing all of the, well, not all of them, but an awful lot of the mental health issues that people are facing is disconnection from self, disconnection from the planet, disconnection from the stars, you know, just disconnection. And if we can reconnect people to know that life is, that this is normal life, it's good, it's bad, it's this, it's that, it's, you know, it's messy, it's glorious, and there's more to it. And you've just, you know, we've just got to embrace that and learn to love ourselves and honor ourselves. This whole idea of, you know, if you're not with me, you're against me. No. Oh, sorry, I've sworn.
We can beep it out. All right, sorry, folks.
You know, no, I just, you know, we've got to learn to
feisty chick.
Get by a side.
Just say it as it is.
And you know, Julie, my first experience of Reiki was when I did an NLP course, and there was a lady on there that said, "Have you ever heard of Reiki?" I said, "No." So she said, "Would you like to try it?" Now, bear in mind, I was working at the Military Academy Sandhurst then, and I turned up on day one with my collar and tie, representing the academy. And by day 7, I was walking around in shorts and flip-flops. But she said to me, "Let me give you a little bash at Reiki." And she put her hands on my head, and I started to feel things in my toes and my calves, and I'm going, "Hang on a minute, what's going on here?" So my first sensation of Reiki really got me out of my logic, you know.
Yeah. Oh. Right, folks, I'm conscious of the time, so thank you so much to our wonderful guests, Helen, Vickie, and Mick. I really appreciate you being here this evening, and thank you to everyone else for joining us. It's been quite an eye-opener.
Thank you to everyone.
We will be putting details of all the courses and things on our channels, Telegram, Twitter, everywhere, so you can see and learn about those. So thank you very much for everyone for joining us tonight. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jane.
Yeah, thank you, Jane.
You've put a lot of effort for coordinating and all the stuff that you put on PHA every day. That's a task and a half.
That's the stuff that makes it go round, Jane.
It is the stuff that makes it go round, yeah.
Oh.